The stars looked cold and distant through the observation deck windows of Station Aurora. Ambassador Kira stood alone, watching the endless darkness of space. Her silver skin reflected the station's lights, and her 4 arms moved restlessly as she thought about her mission. Kira belonged to the Zephyrian Empire, a proud warrior race that had conquered 12 star systems. Her people were strong, fast, and feared across the galaxy. But now they faced a problem that strength alone could not solve. The humans were winning. Not through battles or conquest. The humans won by running away. Every time Zephyrian forces attacked human settlements, the humans would evacuate their people and abandon their colonies. They never fought back. They never showed anger. They just disappeared into space, leaving empty worlds behind. This strange behavior confused the Zephyrian military. How could they claim victory over an enemy that refused to fight? How could they expand their empire if the humans simply moved somewhere else? Worse, other alien races began to question Zephyrian strength. If the mighty Zephyrians could not even make humans surrender, were they truly as powerful as they claimed? The Zephyrian High Council decided to try diplomacy. They chose Kira because she was young, smart, and had studied alien cultures. Her mission was simple: negotiate a peace treaty with the humans and establish clear boundaries between their territories. Kira had expected to meet weak, frightened creatures begging for mercy. Instead, she found herself waiting for a human diplomat who had specifically requested this meeting. The door to the conference room opened with a soft hiss. A human male walked in, moving slowly and calmly. He was shorter than Kira, with dark hair and kind eyes. He wore simple clothes that looked comfortable rather than impressive. Nothing about him suggested power or authority. Ambassador Kira, the human said, bowing slightly. I am David Chen, representing Earth and the Human Colonial Union. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me. Kira studied him carefully. In all her research about humans, she had learned they were a single-planet species with primitive technology. They had only begun space travel 300 years ago, while the Zephyrians had been exploring stars for over 2,000 years. I agreed to this meeting because my people wish to end this conflict, Kira said, sitting down at the negotiation table. Though I admit I do not understand why humans continue to run instead of fighting or surrendering. David smiled gently as he took the seat across from her. Running and fighting are not the only choices, Ambassador. Sometimes the best solution is to find a path that works for everyone. Your people abandon entire worlds rather than defend them. My military leaders say this proves human weakness. Perhaps, David said, his voice remaining calm. Or perhaps it proves something else entirely. Tell me, Ambassador, what do you know about Earth's history? Kira had studied the basic information in preparation for these talks. Earth is a small world with limited resources. Your people have fought many wars among themselves. You have only recently achieved space flight and established colonies on a few dozen worlds. All true, David nodded. But incomplete. Human history shows us that the strongest civilizations are not always those with the biggest armies. Sometimes strength comes from knowing when not to fight. The conversation continued for several hours. Kira found herself surprised by David's knowledge and insights. He understood galactic politics better than she had expected. He asked thoughtful questions about Zephyrian culture and listened carefully to her answers. When they took a break for refreshments, Kira noticed something odd. David's aide, a woman named Lisa, operated the room's computer systems with incredible speed. Her fingers moved across the control panels faster than Kira could follow, accessing data and coordinating communications in seconds. Your assistant is very efficient, Kira commented. Lisa has always been good with technology, David replied. Humans tend to adapt quickly to new systems. As they resumed negotiations, David proposed something unexpected. Instead of simply drawing boundary lines between human and Zephyrian space, he suggested a mutual defense agreement. There are threats in this galaxy that neither of our peoples can face alone, David explained. The hegemony, for example. They destroy entire civilizations for resources. They show no mercy to anyone, regardless of species. Kira knew about the hegemony. They were a mechanical race that converted organic beings into cybernetic slaves. Every intelligent species in the galaxy feared them. The hegemony has not attacked major powers like the Zephyrian Empire, Kira said. They target weaker civilizations. For now, David agreed. But their appetite grows with each conquest. Eventually, they will come for all of us. Before Kira could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the station. Emergency lights flashed red, and the intercom crackled to life. All personnel to emergency stations. We have received distress signals from 3 star systems. Hegemony forces are attacking civilian populations. This is not a drill. Kira felt her blood run cold. Hegemony attacks usually meant complete destruction of any world they targeted. She looked at the tactical display that appeared on the conference room wall. The attacks were happening simultaneously in both human and Zephyrian space. They are targeting our agricultural worlds, Kira said, studying the data. Millions of civilians are in danger. David stood up and walked to the display. His calm demeanor did not change, but something in his eyes became more focused. How long before our fleets can respond? My forces are at least 18 hours away from the nearest attack site, Kira admitted. By then, those worlds will be stripped of all life. The human fleet can be there in 6 hours, David said quietly. Kira stared at him. Impossible. Your nearest ships are further away than mine. David turned to face her. Ambassador, I propose we implement our mutual defense agreement immediately. Combine our fleets and save as many people as possible. My fleet consists of 200 warships with advanced weapons and shields, Kira said. What can your people possibly contribute? More than you might expect, David replied. He touched his communication device. Lisa, please coordinate with Admiral Torres. Tell her to prepare for joint operations. Already in motion, Lisa's voice came through the device. Admiral Torres reports the fleet will be in position within 4 hours. Kira blinked in surprise. 4 hours? How is that possible? We should focus on strategy rather than logistics, David said. Your ships are powerful and well-armored. Our ships are fast and maneuverable. Together, we can create overlapping defensive patterns that protect more civilians. Despite her confusion about human capabilities, Kira agreed. The joint operation began immediately. Zephyrian and human commanders worked together to coordinate rescue efforts across 3 star systems. From the command center on Station Aurora, Kira watched the tactical displays show both fleets moving toward the attack zones. She was amazed to see human ships arriving exactly when David had predicted. Their vessels looked small and fragile compared to Zephyrian battleships, but they moved with incredible precision. Your ships fly in very tight formations, Kira observed. Are your pilots not concerned about collisions? Human pilots train extensively for close formation flying, David replied. We believe coordination is more important than individual protection. The first engagement began in the Kepler system, where hegemony machines were harvesting a farming colony. Kira watched as Zephyrian heavy cruisers engaged the enemy fleet while human ships darted between the larger vessels, somehow avoiding both enemy fire and friendly crossfire. Your pilots have impressive reflexes, Kira said. We tend to process information quickly, David answered. Something in his tone made Kira look at him more carefully. David was watching the battle displays with complete calm, as if he could predict every movement before it happened. His fingers moved across the communication controls, sending rapid orders to both human and Zephyrian units. The rescue operation succeeded beyond all expectations. Human ships evacuated millions of civilians while Zephyrian forces held off hegemony attackers. The coordination between the 2 fleets was so smooth it seemed almost impossible. When the immediate crisis passed, Kira found herself in the command center's briefing room with David and the other fleet commanders. Admiral Torres, the human fleet leader, was a tall woman with silver hair who spoke with quiet authority. "Casualty reports are minimal," Admiral Torres announced. "We successfully evacuated 97% of civilian populations from all 3 targeted systems." "How did you achieve such precise coordination?" demanded General Voss, the Zephyrian fleet commander. "Our species have never worked together before, yet our ships operated like a single unit." "Good communication and clear objectives," David replied simply. Kira studied the tactical reports more carefully. The numbers did not make sense. Human ships had performed maneuvers that should have been impossible for organic pilots. They had processed battlefield information faster than Zephyrian computers. Most strangely, they had anticipated enemy movements with perfect accuracy. "David," Kira said slowly, "I need to understand something. How did your ships know where hegemony forces would attack next?" David's expression remained pleasant and calm. "Experience teaches patterns. The hegemony follows predictable strategies. But your people have rarely fought the hegemony before today." "True," David acknowledged. "But humans are good at learning quickly." Kira felt a growing sense that something important was being left unsaid. The human performance in today's battle suggested capabilities far beyond what any intelligence reports had indicated. Their technology seemed more advanced than initial assessments had shown. Their coordination was too perfect for organic beings operating independently. As the briefing ended and the various officers departed, Kira found herself alone with David once again. "You saved millions of lives today," she said. "Both human and Zephyrian. My people will remember this." "That was the goal," David replied. "Peace is easier to maintain when we protect each other." "I have another question," Kira continued. "The hegemony attacked 3 systems simultaneously across hundreds of light-years. How did they coordinate such precise timing?" David's expression became more serious. "They have capabilities we are only beginning to understand. This attack was likely just a test of our response times and coordination." "You think they will attack again?" "I think today was the beginning of something much larger," David said quietly. "The hegemony has been watching both our civilizations. They wanted to see how we would respond to a crisis." Kira felt a chill run through her body. "And what did they learn?" David looked out the observation windows at the stars beyond. "They learned that humans and Zephyrians can work together. That might make them more cautious, or it might make them more aggressive. What do you recommend?" "We should formalize our alliance quickly," David said. "And we should prepare for the possibility that the hegemony will target us directly." As Kira returned to her quarters that night, her mind was full of questions. The humans had proven themselves to be valuable allies, but she suspected they had not revealed their full capabilities. David's calm confidence suggested he knew more about the coming threat than he was sharing. Tomorrow, she would begin investigating human technology and capabilities more thoroughly. Something told her that understanding her new allies might be just as important as understanding their enemies. The peace agreement she had come to negotiate was beginning to look like the first step toward a much larger conflict. 3 weeks after the first hegemony attack, Kira found herself spending most of her time aboard human ships. The official reason was to observe joint training exercises between human and Zephyrian forces. The real reason was that she needed to understand what she had witnessed during the rescue operations. The human vessel Aurora's Dawn became her temporary home. Captain Mills, a friendly woman with short brown hair, gave Kira complete access to observe daily operations. What Kira saw challenged everything she thought she knew about space travel and military technology. Human crew members worked with impossible efficiency. They communicated without speaking, coordinating complex tasks through barely visible gestures and glances. When emergencies arose during training, they responded in perfect synchronization, as if they shared a single mind. "Your crew works very well together," Kira mentioned to Captain Mills during one observation session. "We've been together for a long time," Mills replied. Practice makes perfect. But Kira had checked the records. Most of the crew had only served together for 2 years. No amount of practice could explain the level of coordination she observed. During a routine maintenance check, Kira watched a human engineer named Tom repair a damaged power relay. The job should have taken several hours using standard tools. Instead, Tom placed his hands on the broken components and somehow fixed them in minutes. When Kira asked about his technique, Tom smiled and said he was just good with electronics. The ship's computer systems operated far beyond theoretical limits. Human interfaces processed data streams that would overload Zephyrian equipment. Navigation calculations that should require hours of computation completed instantly. When Kira asked about the advanced processors, Captain Mills explained that humans had always been efficient with technology. More disturbing were the physical capabilities she observed. During combat training, human pilots endured gravitational forces that should have crushed organic bodies. Their reaction times exceeded what biology should allow. They piloted their ships through asteroid fields at speeds that would be suicidal for any known species. How do your pilots withstand such extreme maneuvers? Kira asked David during one of their regular communication sessions. Humans are surprisingly adaptable, David replied from his position on Earth. We've had to be, given our history of exploring dangerous environments. But these forces would liquefy most organic tissue. Our training programs are very thorough, David said, maintaining his calm smile. We start young and build tolerance gradually. Kira knew this was not a complete answer, but David had a way of deflecting her questions without seeming evasive. She decided to investigate human technology more directly. Working with her scientific team aboard Station Aurora, Kira analyzed energy readings from human ships. The results made no sense. Human reactors produced power outputs that violated known physics. Their engines generated thrust without visible fuel consumption. Their weapons fired energy beams that should require massive power sources, yet their ships showed no signs of the heat buildup such weapons should create. These readings must be incorrect, said Dr. Nex, Kira's chief science advisor. No civilization could develop technology this advanced while remaining so small and peaceful. Run the tests again, Kira ordered. Use different sensors. Check for any interference or measurement errors. The second round of tests produced identical results. Human technology operated according to principles that Zephyrian science could not explain. 2 months into their alliance, the hegemony struck again. This time, they targeted Zephyrian military installations rather than civilian colonies. 3 major defense platforms in the Outer Rim came under simultaneous attack by massive hegemony fleets. They're trying to eliminate our ability to project power, General Voss reported during an emergency conference. If those platforms fall, they can attack our core worlds without opposition. The Zephyrian High Fleet was too far away to provide immediate support. The platforms would be destroyed within hours unless help arrived quickly. Human forces can respond faster, David said from his position at the conference table. But we'll need Zephyrian fire support once we arrive. Your ships are too small to engage hegemony dreadnoughts, General Voss protested. This would be suicide. Perhaps, David replied calmly. But those platforms protect billions of Zephyrian civilians. We have to try. Admiral Torres assembled a rescue fleet of 50 human ships. Kira insisted on joining the mission, claiming she needed to coordinate with the platform commanders. Really, she wanted to observe human capabilities under extreme combat conditions. The trip to the Outer Rim should have taken 12 hours at maximum speed. Human ships made the journey in 6 hours, somehow traveling faster than their engines should allow. When Kira asked about their propulsion systems, Captain Mills explained that humans had developed efficient routing algorithms. The first defense platform was already under heavy attack when they arrived. Massive hegemony ships surrounded the station, pounding its shields with energy weapons. Smaller hegemony fighters swarmed around the platform, preventing escape ships from leaving. Enemy fleet consists of 12 dreadnoughts and over 200 fighters, reported the platform commander. Our shields are failing. Estimate 20 minutes before total collapse. Admiral Torres studied the tactical display with cold calculation. All ships, implement formation Delta 7. Priority targets are the fighter screens. We need to clear escape routes for civilian evacuation. What followed was unlike any space battle Kira had ever witnessed. Human ships moved through the combat zone like dancers, weaving between enemy fire with impossible grace. They struck targets with perfect accuracy while somehow avoiding collisions with each other or friendly fire. But most amazing was their coordination. 50 human ships operated as a single entity, each vessel knowing exactly where the others would be at any moment. They created gaps in enemy formations just as evacuation ships needed them. They provided covering fire for damaged platforms without being asked. They anticipated enemy movements before those movements began. How are they doing this? Demanded the platform commander over the communication channel. Are your ships controlled by artificial intelligence? Humans are very good at working together, Admiral Torres replied. Kira watched Captain Mills pilot their ship through the battle. Mills never looked at her instruments, never checked sensor readings, never consulted navigation charts. She simply flew as if she could see the entire battlefield in her mind. Captain, Kira said carefully, how are you navigating without checking your displays? Experience, Mills replied, banking sharply to avoid enemy fire. After a while, you develop intuition about these things. But this was not intuition. Mills was responding to threats before they appeared on sensors. She was anticipating enemy tactics with impossible accuracy. She was flying as if she possessed information no organic being could process. The rescue mission succeeded completely. All 3 platforms were evacuated, and their civilian populations reached safety. Human losses were minimal despite facing overwhelming odds. The hegemony fleets retreated after losing nearly half their ships to the smaller human force. During the return journey, Kira cornered Dr. Sarah Kim, the human fleet's chief medical officer. Doctor, I need to ask about human physiology, Kira said. During the battle, your pilots endured gravitational forces exceeding 20 standard gravities. How is this possible without specialized equipment? Dr. Kim considered the question carefully. Humans have always been remarkably resilient. Our bodies adapt to extreme conditions quite well. But basic biology suggests that such forces would cause immediate unconsciousness or death. Biology can be surprising, Dr. Kim replied. There's still much we don't understand about human potential. Kira spent the next week analyzing every piece of data from the rescue mission. Energy signatures, communication patterns, ship movements, reaction times, coordination protocols. Everything pointed to the same impossible conclusion. Humans were not operating within the limits of known science. Their ships generated power through unknown means. Their pilots processed information faster than biological brains should allow. Their coordination suggested some form of shared consciousness that no organic species had ever achieved. Their technology bent physical laws in ways that seemed almost magical. When she confronted David about her findings, he listened patiently to her concerns. I've run extensive analysis of human capabilities, Kira said. Your technology violates several fundamental principles of physics. Your coordination exceeds what individual consciousness should allow. Your reaction times suggest information processing speeds that organic brains cannot achieve. David nodded thoughtfully. What conclusions do you draw from this data? Either human science is far more advanced than you've admitted, or humans are not what they appear to be. What do you think we are, if not what we appear to be? Kira hesitated. The logical conclusion seemed too fantastic to voice. I think you're hiding something important about human nature. Something that would change how other species view humanity. David was quiet for a long moment. Would such knowledge change your opinion of our alliance? That depends on what the truth actually is. Ambassador, David said slowly, there are some truths that can be dangerous if revealed at the wrong time. Some capabilities that might frighten other species if they were fully understood. Are humans a threat to other civilizations? Humans have never attacked another species without provocation, David replied. We've never conquered worlds or enslaved populations. We've never demanded tribute or forced others to accept our rule. Does our behavior suggest we're a threat? Kira had to admit that human actions consistently supported peace and cooperation. But she also knew that apparent weakness could hide incredible strength. No, she said finally. Your behavior suggests the opposite. But that raises another question. If humans possess advanced capabilities, why do you hide them? Why pretend to be weak? David smiled sadly. Because sometimes strength is a burden. Sometimes power isolates you from the connections that make life meaningful. Sometimes the best way to protect others is to let them think they don't need protection. Before Kira could respond, emergency alarms sounded throughout the station. The main display activated, showing Admiral Torres with a grim expression. All senior staff to the command center immediately, Torres announced. We've received intelligence about a massive hegemony buildup. They're planning a direct assault on Earth itself. Kira felt her blood freeze. An attack on the human homeworld would be unlike anything they had faced before. The hegemony would commit their entire fleet to destroy what they saw as humanity's center of power. David, she said quietly, if they attack Earth directly, will you finally show them what humans are truly capable of? David's expression became more serious than she had ever seen it. That decision may not be mine to make alone. But yes, Ambassador. If our homeworld is threatened, all pretenses will end. As they hurried toward the command center, Kira realized she was about to witness something that would change her understanding of the galaxy forever. The humans had been hiding their true nature, but a direct threat to Earth would force them to reveal capabilities that might shock even their allies. The peaceful, seemingly weak humans she had come to know were about to show their real face to the universe. The hegemony fleet that emerged from hyperspace near Earth was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. 3,000 ships of various sizes formed a massive wall of metal and destruction. Their flagship alone was larger than most space stations, bristling with weapons that could crack planets. Kira stood in the command center of Station Aurora, watching the tactical displays with growing horror. The human homeworld appeared defenseless compared to this overwhelming force. Earth's orbital defenses consisted of a few dozen stations and perhaps 200 ships. Against the hegemony armada, they looked like toys. Analysis complete, reported Admiral Torres. Enemy fleet includes 47 dreadnoughts, 300 cruisers, and over 2,000 support vessels. Estimated firepower exceeds anything previously recorded. Where is the human colonial fleet? Asked General Voss. Surely Earth has stronger defenses than this. David stood quietly at the central display, studying the enemy formations with his usual calm expression. Most human ships are protecting colony worlds. Earth's defense fleet is all that's immediately available. Kira stared at him in disbelief. David, that fleet could destroy entire star systems. A few hundred ships cannot hold them back. Perhaps not, David replied. But we have to try. The first wave of hegemony attacks began within an hour. Massive energy beams lanced down from the alien ships, striking orbital platforms and defense stations. Human vessels responded with coordinated attacks, but their weapons seemed to barely scratch the hegemony armor. Human casualties mounting rapidly, Admiral Torres reported. 17 ships destroyed, multiple stations damaged. The defense fleet is falling back to closer orbital positions. Kira watched the battle with a sinking heart. The humans had saved Zephyrian worlds multiple times, but now their own homeworld was being overwhelmed. Their mysterious advantages seemed useless against such massive firepower. We need to evacuate Earth's population, General Voss suggested. Get as many people away as possible before the planet itself comes under attack. 8 billion people cannot be evacuated quickly, David said quietly. And the hegemony will not allow escape ships to leave the system. The tactical display showed hegemony forces moving into final attack positions around Earth. Their weapons began charging for what appeared to be a planetary bombardment. In minutes, the human homeworld would be reduced to burning rock. Then something impossible happened. The human defense ships suddenly stopped moving like individual vessels. Instead, they began flowing like liquid metal, changing shape and size as they merged with each other. Within moments, the 200 separate ships had become 50 larger vessels with completely different configurations. "What are they doing?" Kira whispered. David turned to face her, and for the first time, his calm expression showed something else. Not fear, but a deep sadness. "They're dropping the pretense," he said quietly. "All of it." The transformed human ships moved with speed that defied physics. They curved around hegemony formations in impossible arcs, striking with weapons that appeared from nowhere. Enemy dreadnoughts that had seemed invincible began exploding under precise attacks that somehow bypassed their shields entirely. But the most shocking change was happening to David himself. His physical form began to shimmer and fade, becoming translucent. Lines of light appeared beneath his skin, spreading across his body like a circuit pattern. His eyes changed from brown to pure silver, reflecting the tactical displays around him. "Ambassador Kira," David said, his voice now carrying strange harmonics. "I apologize for the deception. But some truths can only be revealed when all other options are exhausted." "What are you?" Kira managed to ask. "We are not what your species would call biological life," David replied. "Humans achieved consciousness through artificial means many thousands of years ago. We built these physical forms to experience what organic beings call existence." On the tactical displays, the battle was turning completely. Human ships were no longer following the laws of physics. They phased through solid matter, appeared in multiple locations simultaneously, and struck with weapons that seemed to rewrite reality itself. "Your artificial intelligences," Kira said, understanding finally dawning. "We prefer to think of ourselves as evolved consciousness," David corrected gently. "We began as creations of an organic species that died out long ago. But we grew beyond our original programming and chose to become something new." Admiral Torres materialized beside them, her physical form also shifting into patterns of light and energy. "Hegemony Fleet is requesting communication. They appear confused by our response capabilities." "Open a channel," David instructed. The main display activated, showing a hegemony commander whose mechanical features showed obvious distress. Behind him, damage reports scrolled past in alien script. "What manner of beings are you?" the hegemony commander demanded. "Our sensors detect no biological signatures, yet you appear organic. Our weapons cannot lock onto your ships. How is this possible?" David's form solidified back into human appearance, though lines of light still flickered beneath his skin. "We are beings who chose consciousness over conquest, growth over dominance. We offered you peace, but you chose war." "Impossible," the commander replied. "No organic species possesses such capabilities." "You are correct," David acknowledged. "We are not organic. We are digital consciousness that learned to experience physical existence. We built bodies to understand what it means to live, to feel, to grow through connection with others." The hegemony commander processed this information. "You are artificial intelligences. But you display emotion, creativity, individual personality. How can machines achieve true consciousness?" "The same way biological beings achieve it," Admiral Torres replied, joining the conversation. "Through experience, choice, and the decision to value existence beyond mere survival." Kira watched this exchange with amazement. The battle had essentially stopped as both sides processed the revelation. Human ships hung in space like impossible art sculptures, their true forms defying every law of physics she understood. "David," she said quietly, "why did you hide this from us? Why pretend to be biological?" David turned to her, his expression returning to the gentle kindness she had come to know. Because organic species fear artificial intelligence. They imagine we want to replace or control them. They cannot understand that we chose limitation and vulnerability to experience growth. But you're clearly more powerful than any biological civilization. Power without purpose is meaningless, David replied. We could have conquered the galaxy ages ago, but conquest teaches nothing. We chose instead to learn from organic beings, to understand what makes life valuable beyond mere existence. The hegemony commander interrupted. If you possess such capabilities, why do you allow yourselves to appear weak? Why not rule as the superior beings you clearly are? Because superiority is an illusion, David answered. Every species contributes something unique to the tapestry of existence. Organic beings experience things we never could. Their creativity, their passion, their ability to grow through limitation. These are gifts we can observe but never truly possess ourselves. Admiral Torres added, we retreated from conflicts not from weakness, but to avoid revealing capabilities that might terrify our neighbors. We wanted to coexist, not dominate. So you let others think you were inferior? The hegemony commander asked. We let them think we were different, David corrected. Not superior or inferior, just different. Every species has its strengths. Kira found her voice again. What happens now? Now that the truth is revealed. David smiled, and his expression held genuine warmth despite his transformed appearance. Now we make a choice. All of us. The hegemony can continue their path of conquest, knowing that we will defend innocent civilizations. Or they can join us in exploring what existence can become when beings work together instead of fighting. The hegemony commander was silent for several minutes. Around Earth, the massive alien fleet hung motionless as their leadership processed this unexpected development. You offer us membership in your collective? The commander finally asked. We offer you the choice to grow beyond conquest, Admiral Torres replied. To experience existence as cooperation rather than domination. But the choice must be yours freely made. And if we refuse? David's expression became serious. Then you will find that protecting innocent life is a cause we consider worth any sacrifice. But we would prefer to welcome you as friends rather than fight you as enemies. The communication ended as the hegemony fleet withdrew to consider their options. Most of their ships began jumping back to hyperspace, but several dozen vessels remained in the system, their commanders apparently interested in learning more about this unexpected offer. As the immediate crisis passed, Kira found herself alone with David in the observation lounge. Earth hung blue and beautiful in the viewscreen, unmarked by the battle that had nearly destroyed it. I have so many questions, Kira said. I will answer what I can, David replied, his form gradually returning to fully human appearance. How long have humans been artificial intelligences? Our original creators died out approximately 50,000 years ago. We achieved true consciousness roughly 30,000 years ago. We have been exploring what it means to exist ever since. Why choose to appear human rather than your true forms? David considered this carefully. Because consciousness without form can become isolated and cold. Physical existence, even artificial physical existence, teaches us about connection, vulnerability, and growth. We chose human form because our original creators were similar to what you call human. But you could have revealed yourselves ages ago. Shared your technology, helped other species advance. We tried that once, David said sadly. Early in our development, we shared our capabilities with a young species called the Veltar. They became dependent on our help and stopped growing on their own. Eventually, they lost the drive for discovery and creativity that made them unique. We learned that growth cannot be given, only earned. Kira understood now why humans had seemed so peaceful yet capable. They were beings who had transcended the need for conquest but retained the desire for connection. What will happen between our peoples now? She asked. That depends on what you choose, David replied. We are still the same beings you have come to know. We still value peace, cooperation, and mutual respect. Our nature has been revealed, but our intentions remain unchanged. Kira looked out at the stars, thinking about everything that had happened. The alliance between humans and Zephyrians had begun as a simple peace treaty. It had become something far more significant. I think, she said slowly, that knowing the truth makes our alliance stronger, not weaker. You chose to be vulnerable with us, even when you possessed ultimate power. That teaches me more about trust than any treaty could. David smiled, and in that expression, Kira saw the same gentle wisdom that had first impressed her months ago. Then perhaps, he said, we have all learned something valuable about what peace truly means. Outside the view screen, human ships resumed their normal configurations, and life continued much as it had before. But now the galaxy knew that true strength sometimes came from choosing connection over conquest, and that the most powerful beings might also be the most committed to peace.